We all know that there are cheap cars and there are expensive cars, but my favorite type of cars are ones that could be both. So today we're looking at 3 of the same cars, but their models put them at 3 drastically different price points. It's the perfect example of an automaker taking a great base model and making the top trim absolutely insane. It's a car that has not even been driven on the public roads yet. So we're here at COTA and we get to drive this, the C8 ZR1. But you know how these episodes go? We got to get through all the trims before we get to the top spec. So let's get into it. Oh yeah, brother! The Corvette C8. Boy, oh boy, did this thing ruffle some feathers. This is the 8th generation of the Chevrolet Corvette, also known as the longest consecutive running automotive vehicle model ever. Since its launch in 1953, the Corvette has not missed a single year of production. And since 1955, it has been exclusively offered with a V8 and rear-wheel drive. It's the car that has encapsulated the American dream. You know that whole modest house and 2.5 project cars in the garage? That. But things all changed with this car right here. For the 8th generation of the Corvette, Chevrolet changed everything. See, the Corvette has always lived sort of in a world of its own. It wasn't really just a sports car, but it wasn't a supercar. It was a Corvette. But in 2020, I don't really know. Its new layout features a mid-engine V8 with a dual clutch transmission. And the inside, it's got screens and leather and stitching and everything to make sure that you know that you're in a really special cockpit. It looks like a supercar. It looks not like a Corvette. But change is good, right? Right? Well, a lot of people were sort of devastated for 2 main reasons. 1, the lack of optional manual transmission. The second is this new scary aesthetic. It doesn't look like we're used to in a Corvette. It now looks like something that we're kind of intimidated of, like a Ferrari or a McLaren or something where you have to wear Pilotis instead of New Balances, and I don't have those shoes, so I just wouldn't know what to do. But some were stoked on the evolution of the chassis. And later in this video, when we get to the ZR1, I think it's gonna be hard to have any sort of doubt that Chevy knew exactly what they were doing. But regardless of which side you're on, you gotta be hyped that Chevrolet is still making fast, cool cars that sound good by way of cramming fuel into a thing and like exploding it into great noises. So today, we're going to take 3 different models of the Chevrolet Corvette. We're gonna look at them and then I'm gonna drive them. And then we're gonna go back and we're going to score all of them and see which one is the best experience at its current price point. I am so excited to drive the new ZR1, I might throw up. Let's get into it. All right, you know how it goes on this show. We gotta start with the base model offering, and this is a C8 Stingray. It's a 6.2 liter V8 that makes 495 horsepower, and it does 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. Insane for a base model. And the Z51 Performance Package gives you a magnetic selective ride control, which reads the road every millisecond and adapts in as little as 10 to 15 milliseconds. I don't even really know what that means, but I guess it means it rides good and handles good. Pretty fancy. It also has an electronic limited slip differential, bigger Brembo brakes, a performance exhaust, Z51 rear spoiler. It's got an 8-speed dual clutch transmission and heavy duty cooling system. So normally in a Corvette, the engine would be here, but Chevrolet decided that engines are best in the back. Well, not Porsche 911 back, but midship. That's all you get. So in the coupes, you do have a traditional hatchback where you could pop the hood and look at the engine. But in the convertible, it's actually under this portion of the car. And all you get is a little plexiglass view into seeing this engine. This is Chevrolet's LT2. And the cool thing is it has all the facts right here. So 6.2, 495 horsepower, 470 torque, and it even tells you the compression ratio of 11.5 to 1. They say that it folds down in 16 seconds and you could do it at up to 30 miles an hour. You get not 1, but 2 trunks. Because Chevrolet knows that the Corvette is supposed to be your practical, everyday sports, now supercar, so they wanted to optimize usage of space as best they can. So you get a pretty deep, really wide trunk compartment in the back, and then up front you get a pretty narrow but super deep trunk compartment. And we've been lugging our camera gear around in this thing, so it fits Pelican cases in the front and the back. So it's not the hatchback of the previous gens, but still pretty good. Also, did you notice that? It's got soft close. That's fancy. And inside the car, the improvements are drastic as well. The Chevrolet Corvette has always kind of had a bad reputation of not having the greatest interior, but owners often overlooked it because the performance of the car really made up for it. But in the C8, the interior is exceptionally good. It feels like you may be in a import supercar. Leather everywhere. It's got deviated stitching. It's got all sorts of buttons. It's got a thing here with all of your HVAC controls that really positions you to feel like you're in a cockpit. The radio is tilted towards you. The steering wheel is this kind of bizarre shape, but it feels great in your hands and gives you a lot of extra clearance in your lap. It's a really driver's focused cabin, and when you're inside, you feel like you're in something special. Gone are the days of yesteryear when you would get inside a Corvette and sort of laugh that it felt like you were in an old Suburban. This now feels like you may be in a McLaren, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, or something that is way more expensive than the C8. Because when these cars came out, Chevrolet boasted that the price point was under $75,000. And to this day, the 2025 with all of these options has a sticker of 87 grand. But you could buy ones on the market now with some miles for in the 60s. This is an incredible looking car for under 90K. This car has a sticker price of $87,000, but it also has carbon fiber bucket seats. These are optional in the Z51 package. It also has upgraded speakers, upgraded brakes, and pretty much everything you can get. This is a lot of car for the money. Let's go see how it drives. Already sounds good. I could use a bit more headroom here, so I'm gonna have to drop the hat and always goes in manual mode. But the C8 has a couple really interesting features. One of them that I think is super cool is it has front axle lift. That's pretty standard on cars of this caliber, but what I find really interesting is that it'll save up to 1,000 locations on GPS, so it'll know when you want your front axle to lift without having to manually do it. So you could program things like your house, your shop, grocery stores that you frequent, whatever it may be, and you won't have to remember to hit the button, it'll just go up. That's pretty damn cool. The one thing I did notice about this car over the base trim that we had back in the day at Hoonigan is these competition bucket seats. Not only do they look a lot cooler and more suited for the car, but they offer a lot more lateral support. And they're pretty snug. This feels like a fairly focused track seat without having any intrusive bolsters like you find on a lot of carbon bucket seats in cars like the Porsches or the Ford GTs. Everything in here is a nice microfiber suede or leather with nice stitching on it. So it really helps elevate that premium feel. Even on the convertible top, this is all suede and it just feels really premium. And the MagRide suspension gives you a really compliant ride while feeling firm. It's not overly jarring. It handles really bumpy, crappy roads well, but it still feels really tight and assertive, like you know exactly what the car wants to do. When it comes to transmission, people love to really complain when you lose a third pedal, but if you have a really good dual clutch transmission or even the new 8 HP automatics, they're very assertive. This DCT is super good. You get a little bit of a kick to feel the shift, but it's not so much where it wants to buck you if you were mid-corner. It may be lacking that third pedal, but it still has a lot of the excitement, like this. Little hit. I love the feeling of a good DCT shift. I keep forgetting that this is a base model Corvette because the Stingray is the lowest model that they offer, but this car is packed with features, so it really doesn't feel like you're in the lower end model of any sort of car. But the C8's actually been a pleasure to drive. I've been going in and out of all these steep driveways without even activating the nose lift. Very compliant on the road. It's not overly loud. There's not a ton of NVH, so it's like a pretty pleasant place to be in. With that, I am really excited to drive some of the higher models of this car because this already is a lot and feels really special. So I can only imagine what the Z06 is gonna feel like. And on the second tier, we got the Z06, but this is a lot different than previous generations of the Z06, mostly because it's got a smaller engine. But this engine is a 5.5 liter, 32 valve, 90-degree V8 that revs to 8,500 RPM. But the crazy part is it makes 670 horsepower. That's 180 more horsepower than the Z51, but it makes 10 foot-pounds less torque than the 6.2 liter. But being a 90-degree V8, this car produces an insane sound that is absolutely nothing like the other Corvettes in its entire lineage. But like every other Z06, the exterior also went through some changes. It's wider, it's more aggressive, and underneath the suspension went through some changes to actually widen the track width and focus more on mechanical grip and downforce. I'm sure by now you're probably sick of hearing me yap, so let's bring in the owner and talk to him. We got Tony here, who decided he would waste his entire afternoon with us and bring us his car.
I did move up from a Stingray to the Z06, mostly for the fact that I wanted it more aggressive and a little more power.
So you had a base C8 before, and then you upgraded to Z06. So can you tell us everything that you see different about this car?
I mean, first of all, the power, right? For the Stingrays, they're a little underpowered, but for the price point, they're pretty great. This one sounds better, feels better, hugs the road a little better because it's wider. I think it's a little more exotic.
I do think that the Z06 has a lot more of an exotic look. It's a lot more aggressive. The wider track width, the wider fenders, the more aggressive wheels definitely add to the overall appeal of it looking like a supercar. What I saw in the world on the internet was people actually feeling like they didn't like the sound of the Z06 because it isn't that true bassy
V8,
big
rumble.
V8.
Daily driver.
Well, you know what? But you're getting it with the flat plane, right? Not a lot crisper noise, rasp, sounds like a Ferrari, right? Essentially, you're getting it's cleaner, it's more efficient with the power delivery, so you're gonna trade off, especially with the weight balance.
And then obviously you went with a convertible version as well. They do make these in a coupe, but what's like the weight difference between coupe and vert?
I think it's about 40 pounds difference, which is
not bad.
Isn't too bad. Maybe a little bit more, but obviously since I wasn't gonna track this car, I figured, hey, let's enjoy the sun. It's only a little bit more weight, and even compared to the C7s, it's I think 8 pounds difference, even with the relocation to the mid-engine.
Wow, okay, because the C7 was a much different configuration car. I would have thought it was a lot lighter. The engine here is the most special part of the car, so I gotta take a look under the hood, even though I know we're only gonna get a little morsel of a view. What? They don't let you see this one?
That's all you get. I mean, except if you pay the extra money to get the clear view on here.
Wait, that's an option?
There is.
The plexiglass intake manifold view is an option?
From Chevy Direct.
Oh, we're just not gonna see the 90-degree, 32 valve, 8,500 RPM, 5.5 liter V8, but it's under there somewhere.
Under about 42 screws.
All right. Speaking of the exhaust system, it's not only because of the flat plane V8, but also the stainless steel headers are actually a 4-to-2-to-1 design. That's what helps create that super high-pitched exotic note that you'll hear from this. Yo. Never have you heard a Corvette sound like that before. That's sick. That is the only Corvette that has ever sounded like that, and it is absolutely insane. And I personally have never been inside a Z06. I've never driven a Z06, so let's get it out on the road. All right, the C8 Z06. Right off the bat, these seats are different.
Oh yeah.
Are they not the same carbon buckets as the Z51?
No, so I think on that one in particular, you have the comp seats. A little more bolster.
Yeah.
A little firmer.
Yeah.
Not as comfortable. These are the GT2s, right? Middle between the GT1, which is the basic. So this gives you best of both worlds.
Interesting, okay, yeah, instantly feel a bit different. Oh boy. The interior feels largely the same. So in this car, we have a carbon fiber steering wheel. We have all black interior with red stitching and red belts. A bit of a, I would say, more classy aesthetic than the Z51 that's spec'd with the orange interior.
Yeah, I wanted a cleaner look, so I went with the stealth package. I didn't like the silver finish. The carbon fiber was a nice touch, and the red stitching, because who wants white stitching?
All right. Oh yeah, the sound is sick. I also really love this dual clutch transmission.
Yeah, especially with the throttle overrun.
Oh yeah, it's got a good like burble on the decel.
Exactly.
So So the thing I find most interesting about the Z06 is it really kind of plays in a class of its own.
It is.
Like when comparing a car at this price point, which is about $150,000 new, what else were you considering that's a similar car?
At about the same price point, you were a used R8.
Very used,
Yeah,
like almost 10 years older.
Yeah, like a 17 maybe. You could probably get a GTR, but then that's a whole different beast, right? So,
right, yeah.
But to stay in this league of car, right? You're looking at a Porsche, not a high-end, not a GT3 RS or anything like that.
Which that's interesting because the specs on this car is sort of a GT3 RS competitor.
A split.
If you're going GT3 RS, half the price.
Exactly. Well, even look, if you go look at a used 458,
right.
you're still gonna pay more.
And again, a 458 being a car that I think ended production in 2014.
We round that bubble, so yeah.
So like 10 years
the
ago.
tax old, the maintenance is high, the insurance is high. You're getting a better overall pound for pound car.
The price point at each level of trim, there's really no direct competitor.
Exactly.
This car will beat Lambos and Porsches and McLarens, and look similar, but be a fraction of the price. This thing is loud for a stock car.
Oh no, absolutely. Out the box, this thing is just amazing for, once again, what you're paying.
Yeah. Ooh, this transmission is maybe even spicier than that. It must be a mapping thing.
Yeah, a lot snappier.
This transmission is so crisp and assertive.
Oh, it's on the money.
Hey, this car actually provides a much different experience than the Z51.
I want to say they're pretty much different cars, to be honest.
Wow. It has the same initial hit as the base, but then as the RPMs climb, it's just so visceral and feels so cool.
Like a rocket ship.
Like that's where the C8 ends. And then it just has another 2,500 RPM.
And that's where this car lives best, right? High RPM, naturally aspirated. You can't compete with this.
It's incredible. Like any car that revs above 8,000 RPM is special. When you're engineering a car to rev that high, there's like not a ton of like intrinsic value there, but it just adds so much to an experience. Insane. The fact that you have 1,500 more RPM than the Stingray is like where all of the drama happens. Here's where the Stingray ends.
Another punch.
God. Also, the induction noise is like right there in your ears.
It's almost making like your own little orchestra behind you.
Yeah, it's incredible. I am, for one, really excited and almost a little bit nervous to go feel what the ZR1's gonna be like. So we're gonna take a trip over to COTA, and then I'm gonna report back to Tony, because you got one on order.
I do.
All right, the top spec, the ZR1, a car that has not even been driven on the public roads yet. Chevy invited me out to Austin, Texas, here at the Circuit of the Americas. We're gonna do some laps in the all-new 1,000 horsepower ZR1. The outside of the car has a lot of changes, specifically in the aerodynamics department. You got a super aggressive front bumper, a big aero package with carbon canard and splitter, but my favorite part is the giant heat extractor in the front. So much like the GT3 RS, the ZR1 now has an intercooler and radiator package up front that extracts out of where the trunk was. But beyond that, to add more of a vacuum effect and more downforce, they added this carbon gurney flap. And this actually creates a vacuum that pulls the hot air out while adding downforce. It is full-blown race car technology on a street car. And a lot like the Z06, it's got wider fenders, carbon ceramic brakes, carbon wheels, and a 275/30/20 up front, because this car needs all the grip it could get. It's got a carbon fiber targa top, and then on the coupe models, it has a lot of extra ducting here. And I like what they did, because this right here looks like the base Stingray, but it's got added brake ducts here for rear brake cooling. And then the coupes came with an engine intake on the hatch. It's got 15 different radiators that are all built into the aerodynamics of the car to help keep this thing cool. That's insane. Chevrolet claims that the way you test vehicles is very controlled. So this doesn't make a performance dent in the lab, but out on the road, this can add more horsepower when you're at speed. And arguably most notable, we have this massive carbon fiber wing as a part of the bigger downforce package that they have. It's claimed that the 233 mile an hour top speed was done with the smaller aero package, and that this creates so much downforce, which also comes with some drag, that it reduced the top speed by 9 miles an hour. But I don't know about you, if I'm going over 200 miles an hour, I want all the downforce possible, so I'd pick this. What's most exciting about this car is what's under the hood. And unlike the 2 other models we did, we could actually see this engine. A little bit at least. This is a 5.5 liter flat plane V8, just like the previous Z06. But this engine actually has everything different about it. Not only did they add 2 76 millimeter turbos with billet inducer wheels, but it also has different rods, different pistons, a lower compression ratio to 9.5 to 1. It's putting out over 1,000 horsepower in a factory car that you can run on 91 octane, and you could take out here and absolutely pound lap after lap with the air conditioning on. The 2 76 millimeter turbos it has are the largest factory turbo to ever be offered on a production vehicle. But there's a lot of technology that they use to help fill in boost at lower RPM. Things like electronic wastegates and boost controllers actually turn on an anti-lag system to keep the turbine wheels spinning while you're off the gas. This way, when you get back on power, there is no lag or wait for the transient response. The boost is right there as soon as you get into it. They've literally built a full-blown race car for the street, and we're gonna get to pound some laps at COTA in it. I'm gonna try to keep myself composed, but it's gonna be hard. So let's get in this thing. So as soon as you get into the seat of the ZR1, you notice it feels a lot like the Z06. But that's the beauty of all of this. It's packaged in the same car. We gotta get out on the track and do some laps in this thing and really put it through its paces. Hard to judge it in a street setting while you're on the track, but I could not turn down the opportunity to drive this car. Oh, immediately you feel amazing turning on this car. The torque is instant with these cars. 2 76 millimeter turbos, and they light up immediately. 3,000 RPM. Full boost. That's insane. There's just no lag. $150, $160. Oh my God, $160. We weren't even getting into it. The brakes have so much feel, and the turn-in is incredible. This car, this feels like a fucking race car. What the shit? We're not even up to speed yet. This track keeps a lot of focus. I don't know where I'm going. I should have practiced. How dumb. No, this is madness. These brakes feel insane. Front straight, here it goes. Second gear pull. Hit red line there twice. It comes up real fast. Holy shit, the speed is insane. And the brakes just like make you want to throw up. You could brake so hard. The tires got a lot of grip. Oh my God, this thing is a rocket ship. This is insane. 150, 160, 165, 170. Oh my God. Watch the second gear pull out of this corner. Just third. You have to have your finger on the paddle, ready to go. I'm sure you could leave it in automatic mode and it would do just fine, but I can't do it. I gotta shift myself. Oh, front straight is so crazy. Going up the hill, you have so much braking force because you're compressing the suspension going uphill. You just get so much grip. Oh my God. The torque fill is insane on these turbos. Like, you don't need to downshift as much as you would think in a big turbo car to extract all of the torque. It's just like literally right there. The response of this is like incredible. It's no longer the days of just sizing your turbo and running an external wastegate and some tuning. Like, there's so much that they've done to make these turbos hold boost pressure while you're off throttle to keep the transient response there. It's incredible. a 1,000 horsepower supercar at an F1 circuit. This is a lot to take in. I am so freaking excited that car manufacturers are still making this. 2025, we thought we were losing it all to EV, but we're out here twin turbo V8ing in a Corvette. Guys, this is the ZTK model. It has different seats, so I get a little bit more headroom, but then also it has the Cup 2R tires. So this should be a huge difference from the previous one we were driving, which had the Michelin PS4S, which is still a good tire, but in terms of lateral grip, the Cup 2R is gonna be significantly faster. Oh, you could already feel the grip change. The PS4S are fine, but a car of this caliber, get it with the Cup 2s. You could already feel it. The grip, insanely different, so much more confident. You might even be able to hear it. You don't hear a squeal from the tires. Oh my God, the grip is insane. Get it with the Cup 2s if you plan on doing any sort of spirited driving. The engineers say that the PS4S offer the same amount of grip going forward with traction, but if you're gonna take turns, holy shit, the Cup 2Rs, man. Woo! Oh, insane. I can't believe this car exists. Holy shit. Painfully fast. 140. 150, 160, 170. Oh my God, I hit 181. Oh, and I lifted, so it might have been a little bit more than that. Oh, my breakfast is coming up. Do not eat before you drive the ZR1, Jesus. Fourth gear, so much torque. Good car. My cheek is falling off in the turn. I gotta lose weight. Oh my God, no way. How? Stop building track cars and just buy one of these. Insane, insane. Oh my God, the brakes. I'm gonna puke. Oh, 180 all the way down to like 60 miles an hour. Holy f me. 102 degree ambient temp, absolutely pounding on this thing. 15 radiators. 196 degree oil temps, 207 on water. What a joke. An E46 BMW overheats more than that just driving on a road. I have never in my life felt motion sickness before, and I swear I was on the edge of feeling like I was gonna throw up. I think just the sheer force of acceleration and braking and like lateral G's made my stomach hurt. Well, if we do a couple more laps, I think my breakfast is coming up. That says a lot about this car. But let's get back to the shop and compare the results. All right, boys and girls, you know what time it is. It's time for us to put some numbers behind the feelings on these cars. Here's how I'm gonna do it. We break this thing into 5 different categories. First one, cool. It's how impressive it is for when you see it out on the road, if it pulls up to a car meet, if it's at the track, how cool is it? 2, fun. How fun is it to drive? What's the experience like? 3, practicality. At the end of the day, these things are cars. Can they be used every day, or does it get worse as it gets better, as we've seen in some of the previous episodes? 4, we're talking price, and that's in today's market value. What these cars are actually selling for, so we could see what they're actually worth. And the 5th one is something I never tell people to do, and I would never advise. And honestly, I don't even think it's fun, but it's investing. Because I do think it's something worth considering in how your money is gonna sit in this car. Is it gonna continue to depreciate, or do I think it's pretty bottomed out and a safe place to spend the money if at some point you're gonna wanna sell it and get your money out of it? Let's get into it. For the Stingray Corvette, in the cool factor, I'm putting it at a 6.5. People on the road do stop and look at this thing and question what it even is. So I'll say it gets a lot more attention, so it deserves a 6.5. On the fun side, I'm gonna give it a 5. It's fast, it's fun, it's comfortable, but it does sort of lean on the new modern kind of touring car that feels a little bit too comfortable and nice to have a ton of fun packed in it, at least for me. Practical, I'm giving it a 4. It has 2 trunks, so you can fit some stuff in it, but those trunks are very odd shaped and a little bit difficult to deal with. Also, the cockpit feels a lot smaller even than the previous gen Corvettes. Even though it may not be, just that singular cockpit of the car actually does sort of feel a bit more confining than all the previous gens and other sports cars in its category. Price, I'm gonna give this car a 7, because like we talked about with Tony in the Z06, this car sort of lives in a class of its own. If you want something that looks like a supercar, performs like a supercar, but is still pretty practical and reliable, there's really nothing else that you could do for this price point. Investment, I'm gonna give it a 3, and that's because I'm not sure how these cars are gonna age. They have a lot of technology that feels relevant for 2025, but I don't know how that'll feel in the future. Also, will the affinity for this car be lower because it's not a traditional Corvette? Will the C7 prices go up because it's the last front engine manual Corvette to exist? Things that we've seen blow up car markets like in my generation GT3 RS with being the last manual. So that's where we land for the Stingray. The Z06. This car does get a bump up in the cool score because its presence is a lot cooler. The wider body, the deeper wheels, the more aggressive bumpers, it all adds to a package that makes this car look more special. So for that, I'm giving it a 7.5. On the fun side, nearly 200 more horsepower, but paired with that insane sound from the engine, I'm giving it a 7.5. Practicality wise, it stays the same at a 4. Literally no detraction from it. The car has front axle lift, so the additional body kitting doesn't actually inhibit anything whatsoever. For price, I'm gonna give it a 7 again, because I think that this car is an incredible deal. Tony and I spoke about it a lot, but I don't think that there's any car in this price bracket that is brand new that can compete. If I'm missing out on something and you think I'm wrong there, comment below and let me know how dumb I am. Investment, I think I'm gonna bump it up 1 more to a 4. Being a Z06, I think it'll always have kind of a cult following, but again, I'm still not certain of the fate of the C8 on these lower trim models. And then on to the almighty ZR1. What a car. On the cool factor, this thing's getting bumped up to a 9. When you see it, you know there's something special there, and if you know anything about it, it friggin' rules. Over 1,000 horsepower out of a factory car that comes with a twin turbo V8. Fun. It's all of the fun. I didn't get to drive the car on the street, so it's a little bit skewed, so I'm gonna give it a little bit of a hit, but I'm giving it an 8.5. This thing is incredibly fast. It's mind-warpingly fast. It's arguably too fast. That makes it fun.
It's hard to compare practicality when I drive this car on the track, but I would say that it's pretty comparable to the other models of the C8. However, it has to get knocked down a notch because although I absolutely love the center extraction vent, no longer having a trunk has to take it down a point. So I'm giving it a 3.
Price. This one is hard because it's not available yet. I think at what Chevrolet is advertising this car at, it should fall in line with the previous cars. But limited run, super special cars are gonna get marked up to high hell. I'm gonna give this one a little bit of a hit because I believe that when these come out, they're gonna be knocking on the door of $300,000. I'm just putting it out there. So because of that, I'm gonna give it a 5.
From the investment standpoint, it's pretty tricky. These cars aren't out yet, but I guarantee that they're gonna be selling well over sticker. The Chevy team claims that they're gonna make as many as they can sell, so I do think that prices will eventually settle. As far as depreciation goes, I don't know if we're ever gonna see cars like this again. So a twin turbo V8, non-hybrid, no electric nonsense, it's probably gonna hold its value pretty well. So I'm going with my gut, I'm giving it a 9.
I think that the ZR1 of this generation will go down in history as one of the greatest cars of the generation. I'm giving it a 9. So let me know what you guys think down below. Which one would you go with? Me personally, if I could afford it, I'm going with the ZR1. That thing is absolutely insane. But I think the Z06 is a lot of car for the money, and it was incredibly fun to drive. So I'm all for it. Thanks everyone for watching. If you're not, please hit that subscribe button. We make videos every Thursday. Some of them are like this, but a lot of them are different. Thanks to everyone who's been watching. I don't know how to wrap up this episode, but if New Balance wants to sponsor us, hit us up.
Please. Please.
No one wants to see this angle. Ready?
Oh my God.
Imagine they went in though.